Gymnastics.
Ladies and gentlemen, on this week's episode of the BengeBuster Show, the Blaze Man and I sit down and talk with the founder of the tag team of the 80s, the Fantastics. I'm talking about none other than Bobby Fulton, coming up next on the BengeBuster Show. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the studios in the wrestling capital of the South, it's another exciting edition of the BengeBuster Show.
Wrestlecade weekend returns to Winston-Salem, November 29th, 30th, and December 1st. Meet your favorite wrestling stars. Experience live wrestling events all 3 days. Shop for your favorite wrestling merch and more. Join us for family-friendly fun for wrestling fans of all eras during Wrestlecade weekend, November 29th, 30th, and December 1st. All goes down at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem. Tickets and info at Wrestlecade.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the BengeBuster Show. Welcome right now my co-host, cohort, co-conspirator, Tim, Red Hot Blaze. Tim, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great, Tony. Doing great, man. Glad to be here on the BengeBuster Show. Man, big weekend. ZZ Top, what do you think, man?
Man, I'm telling you, Tim, that was such a great show, and I don't know if you did it, but when they started playing Sharp Dressed Man, I popped for that song.
Oh yeah, man, I had to get that. I had to get as close as I could when they had a Sharp Dressed Man on there. That's when I tried to get kicked out there a little bit, but anyway, good time with that. I'm excited about this week. I'm excited about last week, man. Scott Norton, man, it was great having him on the show, this week's going to be just as good with fantastic Bobby Fulton. But first, I think we're going to do the Wrestlecade report. And if you want to go ahead and know a little bit about that, I might even have a spoiler for you this week.
Hey,
exclusive. So
that's starting to become a tradition here on the BengeBuster Show. I know all the Wrestlecade fans have subscribed to the Wrestlecade Facebook page, Twitter page, and so on those pages you're getting updates on who is coming and when and all that good stuff. But fans, you need to start tuning into the BengeBuster Show, because starting tonight or starting this week on this week's show, and it's going to continue on, you're going to find out here first before it goes on to the Facebook page, the website, the Twitter, all that. Start listening to the BengeBuster Show, because we are going to start giving you surprises and telling you about new guests coming on before you can read about it from Wrestlecade, and it's coming straight here from the BengeBuster Show, and Blaze and Benge has got the scoop.
That's it. We got the scoop straight from the horse's mouth. But no, the Wrestlecade report this week, I know you saw it. The big news in my eyes was Sid Vicious is going to be joining us for Wrestlecade. Coming up, Sid Vicious, and that's brought to you by Imperial Dent Removal, one of the huge sponsors of Wrestlecade each year. So Sid Vicious, first-time guest, going to be there at Wrestlecade,
and that's awesome right there. Sid Vicious is a legend in the great sport of pro wrestling. He's been multi-time heavyweight champion in both WWE and WCW. But Tim, I don't know about you, but my first experience with Sid Vicious was when he was in the Skyscrapers, and I thought that him and Dan Spivey was an awesome team in that tag team.
Oh, absolutely. And Teddy Long, with all that was just that was a great time for pro wrestling. And I think it was, he was really just starting out then, and that was just a great spot for him. Just put him in showcased him, and so both the guys actually showcased both of them, and it was a real good time. Also got Lisa Marie Barana there, Victoria or Tara, formerly known as, in the WWE, going to be there at Wrestlecade. Lisa Marie, always glad to have her around, of course. Let's see. Also, Ariel Monroe is going to be there as far as the some of the new talents there. I was got that photo op going with Zeus, Tiny Lister.
I was about to mention that.
Debo, Debo.
That's right. Everybody's getting Debo.
Hide your jewelry when Debo comes around the porch. But no, Debo, Zeus, Tiny Lister, he's going to be there at Wrestlecade. That's huge. And here's the spoiler, folks. Here you go, Tony. I know you're ready for this.
I'm ready. Let's hear it, Tim.
The spoiler, Tony. You didn't even know, and this is straight from Tracy Myers. But the spoiler is, by the way, the Binge Buster Show is exclusive for this. This has not been advertised. This has not been put out there or anything like that. So you're hearing it first, and then it'll go online. Then you can get your ticket to what you'd like to see, or a photo op, or anything like that. But Rhino is coming to Wrestlecade.
Wow. ECW legend Rhino fans.
Gore.
I'm telling you, people, listen, now is the time to get your Wrestlecade tickets.
That's an exclusive. That's a spoiler. That's an exclusive. Nobody knows that except for the listeners of the Binge Buster Show. So it's actually sitting in the air for a day.
This is amazing, fans. You definitely going to have to get on the line, order your Wrestlecade tickets for the whole weekend. Come out and enjoy yourself, have a great time, meet wrestlers, and hey, come by and see the Blaze Man and the Binge Man, and tell us how much you like in our podcast, and or you don't like it. Hey, we don't care. We draw heat wherever we go, and hey, but Tim, seriously, on a serious note, I'm proud of our show. It seems like it gets bigger and better each week. Now we've are in with Wrestlecade, and each week we're helping spread the word on the great show Wrestlecade, and here we are this week, fans. You, the Binge Buster listeners, are the first to hear about the appearance of Rhino at Wrestlecade. That's
right, and I'll even give you a hint about next week's guest, Tony.
Oh, I'm ready for that.
Let's see. Let's see if you can guess next week's guest.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. All right. So he's an international superstar.
Okay.
International superstar. He's not known as much for his professional wrestling as his managerials and his advisor and representative. He represents Japan and Mexico a lot. He's been at Wrestlecade before.
Okay.
He's going to be there this year. He's been announced. And he was part of WCW, had a collection of wrestlers in WCW. And also All Japan had wrestlers there, New Japan. So the guest next week, do you have any idea?
I do. I think I know exactly who it is. And fans, you're going to tune in next week as we interview this great manager. Like Tim says, he's been all over the world, and he's going to be a definite great addition to Wrestlecade. Like Tim says, he's been there before. But the best part, fans, tune in next week. He's going to be here on the Binge Buster Show.
All right. Are you going to tell him who it is?
Yes, I believe it's going to be Sonny Ono.
Ooh. Ding, 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 ding. You're right.
There it is.
A brand new car. That's right. It's Sonny Ono. Next week, Sonny Ono is going to be the guest. He is so excited about being part of the Binge Buster Show. He's a big listener. He listens to the show, and so he's going to be here for you next week, Tony. How you like that?
Man, I'm telling you, Tim, I'm loving this each and every week. Fans, we get bigger and bigger guests. I'm not gonna say bigger because all of our guests that we have each week are special. We enjoy talking to them. I know I've gotten a lot of emails from our listeners telling me how much they love the road stories that we've got. And incidentally, I think one of the most favorite stories so far has been Black Bart. And Black Bart's going to be at Wrestlecade, so all you fans out there that enjoyed the podcast, make sure when you talk to Black Bart at Wrestlecade, you make sure you mention how much you enjoyed his segment on the BengeBuster Show, because I know Tim and I enjoyed it. And speaking of the BengeBuster Show, Tim, this week's guest got, again, great stories, great information. Tim and I got to sit under the learning tree for about an hour and talk with the great, fantastic Bobby Fulton. And during that interview, Bobby reminisced about his match with Tim and talked about how him and Tim started a riot there in West Virginia. And I really enjoyed that story, Tim.
Oh, every time I see him, he mentions that. I mean, he got a soda can that was laying on the ground. A fan had a Pepsi laying on the ground. He crushed the can and started ripping him my forehead.
Oh, wow.
And 2 or 3 rows came out of their seats to the ring. I'm trying to get that soda can out of his hand.
Oh, that's great.
He just laid there like dead as a dog in the ring, man, and just he taunted him. I mean, he dared him to get in the ring.
All that.
But it was a great time. It was a great time. I enjoyed talking to Bobby, and I'm going to enjoy it when he calls in just a few minutes.
Yeah, he's going to be on our show here just shortly. But while we wait for Bobby to call in, we're going to take a actually, we're not going to take a break yet. We're going to keep rolling and until Bobby calls. But Tim, any more Wrestlecade news or things that's brewing that we don't know about?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things brewing right now. Matches are getting set up.
Well, now that's going to be exciting.
That excites me because I'm not part of the matchmaking process, and that just dream matches are being made right now. First time matches are being made right now. There are matches that's going to blow your mind, fans. BengeBuster fans, tune in here because I'll have the match list. I'll have it, and we'll share and we'll have a good time with that. I'm telling you. Tracy did want to mention this. There are less than 100 tickets left for Wrestlecade. Again, you heard me right. Less than 100 tickets left for Wrestlecade.
Wow, unbelievable.
And there are 9 VIP tickets left.
9 VIP. You hear that, fans? 9 left. Only 9 people.
The super VIP.
Right.
The super ticket.
The super ticket, exactly. I'm telling you, fans, right now is the time to be a professional wrestling fan. Tim, I got a feeling that, all the stuff that I've been seeing on social media, back in 96, 97, we had the the WCW versus WWE war, Monday Night War, and man, we had so much great television that happened during that time. And Tim, without a doubt, last week's biggest story was the fact of two good friends of ours. I'm talking about one of the greatest tag teams in the history of pro wrestling, the Rock and Roll Express. 9 times NWA World Tag Team Champions. Tim, what do you think about that?
I'm so proud. When I saw that picture, the pollen got high in the room. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, it was really, really seeing that picture again for the 9th time was just absolutely phenomenal. Hands off to Ricky and Robert for being the tag team champions for the 9th time. That's exciting. That was on tonight, 6:05.
Yes.
NWA Power was on. So that was exciting to watch. It was definitely on fire. And I'll be a regular viewer of the 6:05 on Tuesday nights for NWA power. It was a great show, and again, hats off to Ricky and Robert. That hasn't aired quite yet. That I guess of them winning it, but I did see tonight's episode had a look at the current NWA World Tag Team Champions and Wild Card, and they were pretty damn good.
Yeah, I enjoyed their match, and of course, I was excited to see some other guys that you and I know too well. Talking about the Dawson brothers, the Dawson
brothers. I'll give you, if you mention, I gotta say, hats off, man. My boys, the Dawson brothers. Hats off to Dave. Hats off to Zane. Man, they're number one. The AML, one of the top AML tag teams from day one. Well, I mean, Zane's been there since day one, and Dave's been there shortly after, but it's been one of the biggest tag teams at AML since it was created. And when they came in with that, that was phenomenal. And they did great tonight. It reminded me of the Road Warriors, the way they came in there against that tag team tonight. So
yeah, for sure.
Dawson brothers, man.
I'm telling you, fans, and any time you get a chance to go out and support AML wrestling, please do so. I mean, they are definitely bring the talent to each town. Speaking of AML, Tim, do we have a date on their next event?
Yeah, we got AML is going to be doing 2 nights in a row for October. It's a double shot weekend. We're looking at, I say double shot. It's going to be 2 days in a row. Saturday, October the 27th. It's actually the 26th and the 27th. Yadkinville Elementary School on Saturday, October 26th. Okay, and then the second night is Sunday, October 27th at the AML Training Center on Cherry Street in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, North Cherry.
Beautiful.
So it's 2 huge nights of AML wrestling. It's an all-star weekend is what it's called. Live pro wrestling with AML, family friendly for all ages. Go to amlwrestling.com for your tickets today. Saturday, October 26th and Sunday, October 27th. 2 days in a row right there. The whole weekend is AML weekend if you'd like to have it. And that's going to be a great show. Both of them.
That's awesome. And fans, our last announcement, make sure that you are downloading the BengeBuster Show on your favorite platform, whether it's iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, or YouTube. Make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button and downloading each episode, and also go like us on our Facebook page because in the next couple of weeks, Blaze and Benge is going to have a major announcement concerning Wrestlecade, but you only will be able to see that announcement on the Facebook page. So if you're not if you haven't liked that page, you're going to miss out on some tremendous news. And right now, Tim and I are keeping that kayfabe, but definitely keep checking each week on the Facebook page because the news is going to be big. You're going to love it. I'm already loving it. Tim gave me the word, and I'm telling you, fans, it's going to take off. It's going to be awesome. But you've got to make sure you're downloading each episode, or you're going to be left out in the cold. Just like you're going to be left out if you don't get a Wrestlecade ticket, fans. Like Tim said, they're going quick. Only a very few remain of the super ticket, and also for the main Wrestlecade show. What'd you say, Tim? 100 tickets left. So people, you better get out there and get your tickets before they're all gone.
Yeah, it's less than 100 on that, and it's 9 tickets left on the VIP, the super ticket.
Wow, that's amazing.
All 3 days. That's all 3 days and 25 autographs and photo ops. One price.
And there it is, fans. And so you got to make sure that you get your tickets. You don't want to be left out in the cold. And Tim, it looks like the red light's lighting up. That means that is Mr. Fulton calling in. Yeah. Fans, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have fantastic Bobby Fulton on the BengeBuster Show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Tony, I'm so excited about our guest this week. It's none other than the fantastic one himself, Bobby Fulton. Bobby, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Tim. I'm excited to be on your program, get a chance to talk to y'all, and not only that, get a chance to talk to all the great fans, all the listeners, all those that are a part of this great program that you have.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here with the BengeBuster Show. Tony, there he is for you right there, a fantastic Bobby Fulton. Go ahead and shoot him a question. We'll get this thing going.
Well, the first thing I want to tell you, Bobby, just a couple weeks ago, we were on a show talking about wrestlers and how the best way to learn, sit under a learning tree. And Tim and I were talking about if an independent wrestler is on the show with Bobby Fulton, if he don't have his chair set next to Bobby, he's making a tremendous mistake for his career.
Yes, absolutely.
I appreciate that. That is a compliment. And so many times I've been at these shows and stuff like that where guys that's been in the business for a long time are talking, and then the younger guys don't even pay attention to them. You're right. It's an education that they should take advantage of and listen to. I was telling some guys the other night at a wrestling event, when we used to make those long drives years ago when we were wrestling 6, 7, 8, 9 times a week, we spent a lot of time in vehicles, and a lot of times it was forward to a car, and it was a great classroom, a great way to learn, and it's something that they don't have today. So when you get there and you see a veteran, someone that's been around, that's been out there and done that, you want to try to get anything you can off of them, because there's nothing but nuggets of great learning. And like you said, an opportunity. Guys should take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that you present things too, and you're really down to earth. I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody trying to even to get away from a conversation. Even I'm going to eavesdrop. I'm hearing you talking to somebody, I'm just going to step back in the background there and take a listen, man, because, you learn something every single time.
I got that. I was just in Fort Wayne this past weekend, and there was a girl wrestler that was sitting next to us, and I was talking to somebody, and she said, "I hope you don't mind me eavesdropping." And I said, "I don't mind you listening at all." I said, it's funny that you mentioned that, Tim, about eavesdropping. Listen to the older guys. You see, I just turned 59 Friday. I can still go to the ring with the people who match. I might not be able to do it 6, 7 nights a week, but once or twice a week, I can go out there and give them people a match that will have the people stand and enjoy it, this and that and everything. And you don't get that from not learning from some of the best that's ever been in professional wrestling. And the thing of it is, this business is about longevity. You want to learn, you want to know that, man, I want to walk when I'm 50. A lot of these guys today are taking a lot of high risk, Tim, and me and Tim years ago had a match in West Virginia. And we had the people standing, rioting. They were barking like dogs and everything, and there was not one, and I love moonsaults, don't get me wrong. There was not one moonsault thrown. There was not one hurricanrana, but it was the ideal of just going out there and doing what we do best, and that's entertain the crowd,
Yeah, you that night is. I mentioned it on the show last week. That was one of my hints to who my guest was, but
right.
That show was. I'll always be etched in my mind as just a memory. I've got the videotapes of it, the promotional posters of it, and it's a show that I worked hard on to put that on. And you helped me a lot, man. And that was early in my career, and I really appreciate what you've done for me. So, speaking of where you really came from, tell the fans of the BengeBuster Show, Bobby, exactly how you got trained, who trained you, and where you got started, and then how you moved this direction.
Well, I grew up in a town south of Columbus, Ohio, which is Chillicothe, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And when I was born, Ohio was one of the top territories. As a matter of fact, out of Columbus, a promoter by the name of Al Haft was a promoter. Well, some guys from my town named Hank Vest and Roger Vest and Leon Graham and Killer J.D. Kent, there was a group of guys that came out of my hometown that wrestled for Al Haft. Well, then after Al Haft and Hank Best helped him promote shows with Buddy Rogers and all the stars of yesteryear, Handsome Johnny Barrett. As a matter of fact, Ernie Roth, the Grand Wizard, he was called Mr. Clean and worked for him. And got some Maurice and Bobo Brazil and Ernie Big Cat Ladd and things. And I started setting the ring up for him when I was probably around 12 or 13 years old. I walked in front of a set, Tim, probably in about 1965, 5 years old, because I can remember some of the wrestlers on the program and some of the things happening, and I was hooked. It was like an orchestra. It was the sound of them hitting the mat, the sound of each other, the commentator speaking, and it was like the greatest symphony I'd ever heard in my life, and I was hooked from that day forward. But like I said, I started out, I would set the ring up like I was about 13, and guys, it wasn't like today. In the dressing room, guys came dressed like businessmen, conducting business, and there was only like 3 matches on the show, and it was like all best 2 out of 3 fall matches. But the guys, one thing that I knew about it, they always protected the wrestling business, and that's one thing that I learned all throughout my career, Binge Busters. That was this: if you don't take care of the business, then the business will not take care of you. And something that's never said anymore, but it's the truth. I mean, just jumping off this for a second, I go to magic shows and I don't want to see how the magician does everything. I don't want to know everything prior to it. And it's the same thing with wrestling, and people still want to believe. And we're still able to do that today. But going back to that, I finally broke in at 16 years of age, not by that promoter, but by somebody, and I didn't have any formal training. Guys, my first match, my dad drove me 175 miles to Clarksburg, West Virginia. Wow. I wrestled a guy who wrestled for his first match ever, me and him both. And I was 16 years old, and they weren't going to let me wrestle, but they ended up letting me wrestle. Well, me and him got in that ring, and Tim, it was only about the second match on the card, maybe the first match, I can't remember. But the wrestlers came out and pulled us apart. They thought we were going to kill each other.
Oh wow,
that's great. And that wasn't even the way it was, But we got pulled apart in about 6-7 minutes. But I was beat up, black and blue from head to toe. I got paid $5 my first match, signed a dozen autographs, and brother, I was in knee deep. I was in over my head, ready to spend the rest of my life as a professional wrestler.
Oh, that's exciting. That's an exciting story, Bobby, man. I appreciate you sharing that with the fans here at the Benge Buster Show. That's phenomenal. I know. Now, you had a lot of dealings with the Sheik early, and then Wild Bill Curry. Is that not right?
Wild Bill Curry, yeah. Wild Bill and Flying Fred Curry. As a matter of fact, Flying Fred Curry had a company out of Columbus, Ohio, and his father would come in, and they had Dr. Jerry Graham and Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., and it would be Flying Fred Curry and Wild Bill Curry. And then later on, when Dr. Jerry Graham disappeared, it would be me and Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., a lot of times against Wild Bill Curry, who I grew up idolizing, and Flying Fred Curry, one of the great baby faces of all time. And I was Tim, the funny thing of it was I was always a heel all throughout the beginning of my career. And I looked like a heel. If anybody sees pictures, as a matter of fact, a lot of times when people see pictures of me when I was 16 and 17, they'll say,
So Bobby, during those days with the Currys, you were known as Crazy Bobby Fulton. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And what happened was I broke into business. I started being a heel with them. As a matter of fact, what I was, Tim, at the time, you guys, I was his traveling opponent. He had just come off television. So whenever an outlaw group, they weren't independent wrestling. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't even cool to be in an outlaw group to everybody else. But the outlaw groups would book him, and he would take me as his opponent. Well, I got to a town in Georgetown, Kentucky, and I normally wore a mask when I wrestled. So I'm sitting around, and there's 10 heels in the territory, and 7 of them's got masks on, and 2 guys got bleach blonde hair, and I just pulled my mask off that night, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna be a little bit of the Sheik, I'm gonna be a little bit of Wild Bull Curry, and then that night, Crazy Bobby Fulton was born, and I started doing that, and like a crazed wild man, when I would go to the ring, and people, it's funny because like I said, it was an outlaw little company, and I did it on a lot of shows, but people still talk about that Crazy Bobby Fulton today. One funny thing I want to mention to you, prior to the Crazy Bobby Fulton, or about that same time, I got a magazine that I've got a picture of me in looking wild and woolly, but I was the first Macho Man Bobby Fulton. I think I was the very first guy. I mean, you know, the only other guy was Randy Savage, but I think I called myself that before him, but he qualified better than I did. You know what I mean?
Good old Randy.
But I got a lot of experience wrestling with Flying Fred Curry. I promoted my first wrestling show when I was about 16 or 17. I just sat back and I think about the stuff I've got a chance to do. You know, guys, because listen, it's all been a dream come true for me. I mean, God has really blessed me coming and going. I mean, number one, to still be able to go out there and do it, to go to places like I did this past weekend, Fort Wayne, Indiana. They had an event up there, and I got to see a lot of old friends, the Orient Express. I got to see Mark Marrow, who was Johnny B. Bad, J.J. Dillon, and Tully Blanchard, you know, and events like that. And then that big event that they've built up over the last couple of years, I mean, it's like the premier event of FanFest, and that's Wrestlecade, and right down there in your guys' neck of the woods, Winston-Salem. It's always great to come down there, not just to see the fans, but to see also all of our brothers and sisters of the mat that we don't get to see as often as we'd like to, you know. But you know, I was a heel for years, and then what actually happened to him, I got in a riot in Monticello, Kentucky, in which the fans picked up their chairs and started beating me with them. And it broke my arm in that riot. And then when I came out of that riot with a broken arm, I took time to heal up. And then I went to Memphis, and I met Superstar Bill Dundee, of course, Terry Taylor, Steve Kern, Stan Lane, and they started talking to me about training, eating right. I got in great shape. I ended up being a baby face and, you know, getting a chance to learn a lot there. Memphis was a place where a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers, for some reason, act like they didn't like it. But there's a lot of top talent that really came out of there, especially out of the early 80s. I mean, I could go on and go on and go on.
A lot of creations.
Top stars.
Yeah, a lot of creations. A lot of creations. A lot of creations.
Yeah, I was there the night at the Mid-South Coliseum when Jerry Lawler brought into two young guys by the name of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, and they were sitting there, and he said, guys, here. He had a big box full of bandanas. And he said, guys, I want you to tie these on you. And I think at first they might have been Ricky and the Robert Express or Robert Ricky Express or the Rock and Roll. But I was there when that took place, and I was there when Jim Harris couldn't get a job anywhere in the business. And he came up to Memphis, and all of a sudden Lawler was painting him up, and he became Kimala, the Ugandan giant. Wow. There's so many guys that was there that came through Memphis, and it was a great learning time, and the territory was phenomenal there. You know, if you go to a place where there's a lot of great wrestlers, then you're bound to learn, because it's just like I told some people, Tim, and you know this. If you're not wrestling guys that's better than you, then how are you going to get a chance to learn? You have to get in there in the ring with a guy. Hey, look, there's a lot of young guys that probably wouldn't want to get into the ring with me. They feel like he might be older and this and that, but they just don't realize what they would learn if they would get in there and go. You know, I mean, there's just so much more to this business than just damaging your body. I mean, it's psychology people talk about that's missing and gone, and where you put a brain whooping on the people. And it's just like, for example, I don't know if this fell a part of your Binge Busters. It's just like the night in Thomasville. when me and my brother Jackie are wrestling the Terminators, and all of a sudden something happens and they're knocked out of the ring, and here you come, Tim, putting a blue mask on just like they was laying down in the ring, and when the referee turns around, he sees me covering a guy with a blue mask and counts 1, 2, 3, and the referee turns back around to look at whatever. You're gone out of the ring. I haven't pinned no Terminator, but we won the match. And you talk about the people going nuts, brother. That's what people miss in wrestling. They miss the twists and turns. They miss the emotional feeling. It's just like, for example, when I watch wrestling, and I'm a big fan of it, but when I watch it today, the people just get up when they come into the ring with the music, and they get up when they leave the ring. But during the matches, I watch the crowd out there, and they're just sitting on their hands basically watching, because it's hard to grasp 3 hurricanranas and flips and flops and flies, and there's nothing in between. And I'm not knocking the guys. Everybody that's in wrestling today are some of the greatest athletes that I've ever seen in the ring. And I mean that, Tim, and you know that too, brother.
Yeah, I know that last night that probably about 11,000 people were scratching their head about a disqualification in a cage, but that's here nor there. We'll probably see how that plays out tonight or something.
Now, where was that at?
Hell in a Cell, disqualification on the main event. The fans were crazy crying, man.
That's rough, man.
They were hollering, everything.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I mean what I'm about to say. And I went down a few months ago to the Performance Center, and I loved it there. And it's a great thing. And I went down there and taught guys for a week, and I'm looking forward to going back again. But the thing of it is, I just don't understand. And Vince McMahon's done so much for the wrestling business, but right now is a very integral part of his business, because he's got AEW, he's got NWA. Wrestling fans are looking to feed their wrestling fury. You understand what I'm saying, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
And if you insult them enough, they'll turn their back on you, and they'll never come back around again. Now, I'm not saying, listen, and I mean what I'm about to say. The WWE is not going nowhere. They're right years ahead of everybody. They're in for the races. Now, let's just see. Maybe they're wanting to try to make the fans mad. I don't know, to get some kind of reaction. But
They got a reaction. They definitely got a reaction. I think it's more to it. It's more to it, but there's no way that was a finish.
Here's the deal. It might have got to the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I want your opinion of it, not mine.
It might have been to the point to where neither guy's wanting to do the whatever, the favor.
Right.
And creatively, he says, no, I ain't going to do it. Now, what are you going to do? As a promoter, Tim, and you know this, you promoted there's going to be a Hell in a Cell match, right?
Right.
You can't change it. You see, that's why I always, years ago, on things, one thing I've always done in my life when I promote shows, and even when I promoted the Tough Men or whatever I promoted, whatever I was doing, I gave it, what I told the people, I got to deliver it. If I promise them a donkey flying over top the building and I'm going to ride it, I got to do it.
Yeah.
I might not like it, but I got to do it. And the thing of it is, I think that people don't realize that. I'm going to give you a lesson here. You ready?
Yes,
and
sir.
this might be what happened there. Okay. So me and Tommy Rogers are wrestling for World Class Wrestling, and we go into Mesquite, Texas, to the Mesquite world famous rodeo arena, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The first time there's just a handful of people that comes to the show. The next time the show comes up and there's maybe 3,000 people there. Well, then Gary Hart says, and we're involved in an angle with Eric Embry, Frankie the Thumper Lancaster, and me and Tommy. And Tommy's in a match in Dallas that says, whoever loses this match is going to ride a bull competition style in Mesquite at the rodeo arena, right? And here's Cowboy Tony wearing a pink cowboy hat, making fun of Texans and cowboy people. Well, he loses the match. So here's what happens. We go to the show, and Tony said, I am not riding the bull competition style. I can't. They'll break my neck, right?
All right.
And they're thinking he will. So all of a sudden, and then we're in a cage match that night. And what happens is this: I think there's 9,000 people there. It went up from a little bit of nothing, and I mean I might not be exactly right, but I'm close to it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Tony goes to walk to ride the bull competition style, right?
Right.
Well, when he goes to ride the bull competition style, he trips going to the bull and acts like he hurts his ankle. And he says, I'm not able to ride the bull now. I've hurt my ankle. Well, the people start chanting BS, you know what I'm saying? Right. BS right there. They're mad. We go into the tag team match, and they want to put the heels over, which is fine. But then we did it in a way that screwed the people that they went BS again. Now listen to me, brother. The next time we went there, Tim,
yeah,
you could have threw a bomb in the building. It killed the town big. And I mean, it's something that's not talked about, and I'm sure that it's happened in wrestling many, many, many times over the years of people killing towns and doing this and that. And I don't know if it was meant to kill it, but the things that took place killed it. And it was bad business. It was just bad booking, bad planning, bad things. And the thing of it is today, like you said, with a finish like that, a DQ and a Hell in a Cell, that there's just to me, as a guy that's been in the wrestling for 42 years, since 1977, I'm being honest with you. I can't think of no rhyme or reason to DQ anybody, not unless someone would refuse to do the favor. Number two, that they just don't give a crap and just say that we're going to spoon feed the people anything we want, like they have for the last 20 years. And I'll just be honest. And the people say, I don't like the taste of that. I don't even want to watch it. Now I have an alternative to feed my drug of loving wrestling, and right. I want to go to that. It might not be as crisp and clean and clear, and the production values might not be as what, but it's entertaining action, and that's what I want to see. You know what I'm saying?
I think the production is right there with it. I don't think it's off by much.
No, I got you. Well, I know that I talked to Ricky and I talked to Robert the other day, and they didn't. No one knew they were going to win them titles, and when they won them titles, everything erupted. And I think that was the right way to start things, because they don't realize look here. There's years and years and years there with the Rock and Roll Express, and it just adds to the lineage of what's going to take place and what can happen in so many ways. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I'm hoping that goes well. The one thing I didn't like about that AEW, and I mean, I know we're kind of off topic, is that man acting like a woman wrestling 95-pound woman. That was totally wrong, and that was horrible. And that was going to break somebody's neck. They kept falling around and this and that. But here's the thing of it is, Tim, we love wrestling.
Yeah.
We love it no matter what letter it is over it. We want to see it succeed. Because one thing I've realized out here, if all the big dogs are drawing big money, then we'll draw big money. And it you know, it goes downhill. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And everything like that, you know. So not to get off the subject of the Fantastics or anything, but just to talk about current product and things like that. And, you know, it's no different than when we were in the wrestling business when I was in it full time. I mean, you know, I ate, drank, and slept it, and I got a chance. I talked about world class already, but to go wrestle for the big cowboy Bill Watts and Louisiana, and got a chance to learn a lot of stuff. And of course, in Charlotte, there with all that tremendous talent. But you know, when I was in Dallas, the Von Erichs, they were so over. It was unbelievable. We were, and I'm going to tell you this, Tim. Years, but probably about in 85, 84, 80, whatever it was. I can't even remember. I'm not good at the years. But we were equivalent to what New York is as far as people coming to the shows in limos. It was a happening event. It was like we were mega superstars. We couldn't, you know, I've heard the Rock and Roll and then talk about in Charlotte and stuff like that. But it was that way. I mean, women would jerk our clothes off of us and stuff. It was just on fire, and it was unbelievable, and it was great, and it was red hot. That world class, from world class wrestling, we went and wrestled in Israel. We went over there and wrestled in Shimon Peres, who you guys can look this name up if you don't know who he is. He was the prime minister of Israel, and he was a great leader, but I was young, and I didn't even realize who he was, but he wanted to beat us and stuff like that. I mean, world-class wrestling had a major impact in the world long before the other wrestling promotions even thought about going worldwide. They were already there with the Von Erichs and, of course, the Freebirds and all the other great talent that was there. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and us, and then the Midnight Express and all the great talent that was there. It was a great time and a great territory, great area of the World Class Championship Wrestling.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're mentioning everybody that's going to be there, too, man. I mean,
that's wonderful.
You just mentioned, I mean, the Von Erichs, of course. We couldn't get we try to get there's two sons there, but
Marshall and
that would have been pretty cool. But I think we got everybody that would really be great on this panel that was part of World Class.
Sure.
And you're part of it. What I want to do is we want to take a quick break and we'll come back and wrap it up with Bobby Fulton. I want to hear a promo, Bobby Fulton promo. We're going to play that. Do that for me, Tony, and then we'll be back with more Bobby Fulton on the BengeBuster Show.
United States Tag Team Champions. What do you got there, guys?
Well, I'll tell you, we knew that Jimmy Cornette wasn't going to be here this week, and the reason why he wasn't going to be here is because he's scared. He knew we was going to bring this up the straight jacket. Cornette, you're crazy. We seemed, every time we get in a match with the Midnight Express, Cornette seems to interfere one way or another. That's why we have got this straight jacket, because Cornette is going to end up in this straight jacket, and when it happens, brother, and when we get done beating the Midnight Express, Tommy, then Jimmy is going to be standing over there helpless inside this straight jacket, and you could know what we could do, anything we want to Jimmy Cornette.
That's right. David, Tony, we went down to the rubber room at the puzzle factory and borrowed this off of somebody because we know, Jimmy Cornette, if we don't put this in on you, that you're going to hurt yourself or somebody else. And we're just tired of seeing that racket across our back, the human tennis balls that we've been, or that belt across our back. So, Jimmy Cornette, once you're in this, I don't think there's no way, I know there's no way that you can hold that tennis racket or a leather strap. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in it, because I know David and Tony, I know you're looking forward to seeing him in it, because he's going to look like the biggest wimp and the biggest goof you've ever seen.
And that thing really works. I've never seen one of those, only in the movies. I've never seen one of that thing will actually get him to where he can't use a tennis racket or anything like that.
Believe you me, Tony.
Really works?
Believe you me, David.
We can show him, Tommy, right here. Let's just show him exactly what it's all about.
Would you like to see it, David, Tony?
I don't want to put it on.
The guy showed us. Oh, you don't want to? You can put it on me.
It'll be okay. Put it on me.
All right, you going to take your jacket off?
Yeah, I'll take it all off. Okay.
Well, okay. Go ahead.
First hand right here. I tell you, I've never put one of these on, so it might take a few seconds if the people bear with us.
I understand. Go ahead.
This way, right?
Yeah. You don't put this like on an ordinary coat, like Jimmy Cornette's hand-me-down.
Yeah, from Salvation Army or anything,
This goes on like this?
This goes on backwards to start it out.
And this will incapacitate someone, David. There's no doubt. Look at it.
Okay. And now you got three straps to go across the back.
Three straps on the back?
Three straps on the back, Tony.
Exactly. And this is so tight. Once you put it on somebody, I know they're very, not going to be able to move, because it's so tight on my shoulders and stuff right now that it's getting tight. It'll cut your wind away.
I'll just put on a couple of them just to show the people. Okay.
Putting Cornette in the straitjacket. What do you do with the arms now? Yeah, what about the arms?
Okay, the arms cross in front of you here.
This way, right?
This way, right around here. And the strap comes around here.
Oh, my goodness.
Then what are you going to do?
Well, there you see, Bobby Fulton
Cornette, yes.
is pretty tied up in the straitjacket.
Can you imagine, David, Jimmy Cornette in this thing? And this comes back here.
Goodness.
Across the back here. And latches it in.
Hold it. Yeah, that's awful tight, man. I can't even move at all, man.
There's nothing he can do.
There's nothing.
Absolutely nothing. There is absolutely nothing that he can do.
I want to see where he puts the tennis racket. The straps come down around the legs, too, so he makes sure he ain't going to get away from shit. That's the guy.
I told him the one with the straitjacket is even devastating, man, because you can hear that chair hit me, and it's just like boom. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that, Tim, lately on the thing or not, but yeah.
I saw last night. I saw Bobby Fulton versus Adrian Street as a new gem on the network, WWE Network.
I got to see that.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh yeah, I saw that too last week, Tim. Yeah.
I saw last night.
I
saw
see
last night. That was it was one of the golden gems, like the newest shit they put on there, and there's Bobby Fulton versus exotic Adrian Street, and Gordon Sully was announcing it.
Really?
Not Gordon Sully.
Yeah, Bobby. It's awesome.
Jim Ross was announcing it, and Bill Watts was the commentator.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Jim Ross.
Yep. I had a lot of good matches with Adrian.
Yeah, that was pretty good. All right,
man,
so
real quick, I just want to touch on this. So Bobby, don't you believe that Adrian was way ahead of his time back then?
Oh, every bit. Yeah, every bit.
Man. I talked to Jimmy Valiant so much about his matches with Adrian. He said Adrian was just he was just a genius.
He was a wrestling heel too. Huh?
Why didn't Vince ever pick him up the way, like, you know, that's his kind of person, right?
I guess he was older. I don't know. He works for the WWE now.
Oh, does he?
In the United Kingdom, he's one of the trainers at the.
Gotcha.
But he's great.
Yeah. I remember him and Jimmy Valiant back in the day. Jimmy Valiant, Adrian Street, that was a big feud.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. Adrian was a wrestling heel. He get heat wrestling, and his stuff was great. I'll never forget, guys. I got to tell you this. You ready?
Yeah.
He came into Memphis, and he was fresh from England. And I was at Bill Dundee's house having Thanksgiving dinner, and Luke and Jonathan Boyd came, and Adrian Street and Miss Linda. Well, on that Saturday, they went to Memphis TV, which was live at the time, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
And they put Adrian Street against Ira Reese, which was a black guy. And Adrian would do a thing where he would jump up and cross his legs around your waist, and then he would give you a great big kiss, right?
Right.
You remember seeing in matches and he did that?
Yeah.
He did that to Ira Reese, and they fell down, and Ira Reese looked at him. His eyes was as big as freaking 2-liter bottles. Because he gave him a big kiss. He had great big red lipstick on. Ira Reese, the black guy. And then he got up, Adrian did, and skipped around the ring with giving everybody the bird.
Oh, man. That's awesome. That is great.
Yeah, he was great, man. I loved him.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. All right. Oh, what a Bobby Fulton promo that was. I mean, guys, come on.
Yeah, Tim, I just want to say this before we go any further. I'll never forget when I was in San Antonio. Lord Jonathan Boyd, who was part of the Sheepherders then, as a matter of fact, he got his ankle hurt. He was one of the Royal Kangaroos that wrestled in the Charlotte territory for the, no disrespect, Jim Crockett Sr., and but he was Lord Jonathan Boyd, very smart about the business, and he came up to me. He said, "Nate, there's something about your voice when you talk that is so legitimate, it's so serious that it's so real." But I told him, I said, it's just really me. And I mean, if you think about all the guys that did interviews and talking, it might have been an alter ego, but it was something that they believed in, whether it was Handsome Jimmy and his interview, or Austin Idol, or Rufus R. Jones, or whoever it was. I mean, they were talking from the heart, and that's the thing that I think that wrestlers today, and I say that about today, but people miss the guy talk, you know what I mean, talking, and they miss all the characters and stuff
right
that guys had, and the glitz and the glamour of the wrestling business. They seem like they've swept it up under the ring. And I mean, and I'm not saying everybody has done it, but there's some. And I mean, some of the girls like Charlotte and them, they wear their stuff out to the ring, and the stuff is great. But we can talk about all that and this and that about the wrestling, and the wrestling business, I believe, is on an upswing, believe it or not. But you know what? There's that great big event I told you about earlier. That's going to be Wrestlecade, and it's Thanksgiving weekend. It's a tradition. It's just like what Starrcade was to the NWA, what Wrestling Star Wars was to World Class Wrestling, what all the major events was, all throughout the years. We have that there in Winston, and it's became the event to be at, the event to be asked to be at, the event to be at as a fan, and the event to be at as a wrestler. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited about being a part of that again this year. I'm excited about being with the Breakfast of Champions. I know that it's going to be here's a great opportunity to have breakfast with guys. And I mean, Tim, I'm telling you, what I would have gave years ago if I could have sat down with some of the greats and had breakfast with them, picked their mind, talked to them about this happened or that happened and things like that. Well, they're going to get a chance at this breakfast to get a chance to talk with some of the great wrestling stars that they've only seen on television or perhaps met once or twice just in passing or asked for an autograph. But at this Breakfast of Champions, they're going to get a chance to sit down, have breakfast and talk, and it's going to be really a very intimate type setting there. We're going to be a part of that, but then also it would take me the rest of the night to name all the great wrestling stars, all the great wrestling talent that's going to be at this tremendous event. And I'm telling you what, Tim, I've got a feeling, and my feelings are usually right. I got a feeling that this is going to be the biggest and best year the Wrestlecade has ever had. Everybody is excited about it, not just in the United States, but worldwide. This is a gathering place, and I'm geared up, and I'm excited about being there.
That's great, and we're excited to have you there, Bobby. I mean, you've been there about every year, I believe, hadn't you? I mean,
yeah, just about. I think I missed maybe one or two, but I'm telling you what, last year was great, and this coming year is going to be great. And after the first of the year, my son and I were putting together a great event up in Circleville, Ohio. It's a reunion around town. Yes. We're going to have a lot of stars there March the 14th. It's going to be a Saturday. It's going to be a great event. People that want to find out more information, now this is going to be a mouthful, but it's World Classic Professional Big Time Wrestling. It's WCPBTW.com, and they can find out all about that great show up there Saturday, March the 14th, 2020. We're going to have Jim Cornette there, of course, the Midnight Express, Dennis and Bobby, some of the Four Horsemen, and so many other guys. And Dylan's bringing Haku into Wrestlecade this year, and I'm excited about that because, listen, guys, I'm going to tell you something about him. We just did a toy show a couple of weeks ago up in Columbus, Ohio, and there was more people coming up to him that had never watched a wrestling match ever in their life or heard much about wrestling, but they said, I just want to shake the hand of the toughest man that ever walked the face of God's green earth. Yeah. And this Haku, I'm telling you, people, I couldn't believe it. They said, your reputation is widespread, but let me tell you something, Tim, and you know this too. You couldn't meet a nicer guy in the whole wide world. And let me digress just a little bit. Back when I started in Nick Goldis' territory back in 1979-80, I was wrestling there. Me and Eric Embry, we were the Fulton brothers. Bob, and he was Don Fulton. And we were starving to death there, breaking in the business. And there was a guy there in the territory by the name of Prince Tonga. And he looked like a bodybuilder. He had just came out of being a sumo wrestler. And it was Haku when he was a young man. So it's always great to see him, and it's going to be a great event. All kinds of people. As a matter of fact, we're bringing Ronnie Garvin, the man with the hands of stone. You guys got so many guys that it's unbelievable. It is a wrestling fan's dream come true, Wrestlecade. Thanksgiving weekend, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be wild, loud, and unpredictable. But one thing I want to say this, Tim, that the fans are going to be in for a great time. They're at Wrestlecade, and then, of course, after that, we're going to be gearing up for this big event on March the 14th up in Circleville, Ohio. It's one of the biggest events ever in Ohio, and we're excited about being a part of it. And, guys, I want to tell you something. This Binge Busters is something else. It's a great program. I heard about it before this. I wish you nothing but great things with it. You guys continue on that, on with the tradition that you're building, and I wish you guys both nothing but the best. And anytime I can get a chance to jump on here, I'd love to be a part of it. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Bobby. We really enjoyed the stories, and I know there's tons more that you have that haven't shared, and we would love to have you back on the show later on and talk more great stories from the great Bobby Fulton.
Let me tell you something right now. This Saturday night, I'm going to take Tim Blaze in West Virginia. I'm going to run him all over that ring. I'm going to sweep him off his feet. I'm going to mop the floor up with him. Then I'm going to take him out just like the rest of the trash. I'll see you, Tim, in the middle of the ring, and that's all in our minds.
I hear you, baby.
I love it, Bobby.
I love that. That's awesome.
You guys be good.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another exciting edition of the BengeBuster Show. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and download each episode on all platforms: iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube.